I would like to introduce Willa Hickey, Williamsburg Elementary School Student Council Vice President.
Rick Healy is a 1977 graduate of Williamsburg High School. He earned his American Legion eligibility for serving the United States Marine Corps from 1983 to 1987. During that time, he worked as a corporal, Air Wing 6072, ground support mechanic. Later, Mr. Healy taught here at Williamsburg High School for over 25 years. In 2021, Mr. Healy was elected by the American Legion as the Child Welfare Worker of the Year. He retired from Williamsburg schools in 2023, but remains active in our school community. Mr. Healy spends his retirement subbing at Grant Career Center and drives local veterans to the VA so they can attend their appointments. Please join me in welcoming our guest speaker, Mr. Rick Healy.
Give me a second. I am now going to switch hats to honor my American Legion. My message to you this morning, hopefully, is going to be a clear message. It's simply to challenge each of you young people to say kind words to our veterans. Thank you for serving. Those words will ring in their ears and lighten their hearts forever and ever. Simple to say, but something that you just can't put a price on. One more thing, can't see without these. Oh, look out. You can have that one. I'd like to welcome and thank you so much for asking me to be here. It's an honor. I am a Williamsburg kid, as was mentioned. Graduated in 1977, went on to Wilmington College, got a Bachelor's of Science degree in education, graduated from Wilmington, shipped straight off the United States Marine Corps. 1983, January. What a time. I served from 83 to 87, and during that period of time, I learned so much. After I finished in the Marine Corps, I went as a long-term sub at Coronita Elementary School in California, where I started my teaching career. After that, I went to Norte Vista High School in California, where I had the opportunity to start to mold young lives. After California, came back to Williamsburg and begun 35 years of the greatest honor of my life, molding, advising young people, boys, girls alike, into the greatest honor, steering them into joining the United States Army, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, and of course, the United States Marine Corps. The history of Veterans Day, it has been outlined so well, but what I want to get across this morning, that it's more than just history. Veterans Day, originally known as Armistice Day, is a federal holiday in the United States, observed annually on November the 11th for honoring military veterans of the United States Armed Forces. It began and now coincides with other holidays, including Armistice Day, Remembrance Day, which are commemorated in other countries, marking the anniversary of the end of World War I. Major hostilities of the World War I were formally ended at the 11th hour on the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918. In 1954, it was officially renamed Veterans Day. That brings me to where I'm at. I want Veterans Day to be so much more than just the day that we gather. We say, thank you for serving. We go to assemblies. I want us to know what Veterans Day truly, truly is, down to the very quick of our hearts. For me, a lot like a lot of you, Veterans Day was something that some movies that I'd seen, some books that I'd read, articles, maybe a story or two from an old guy, and I'm old. That's what Veterans Day was. It's so, so, so much more than just that. I have had the privilege and the honor to now drive veterans to their doctors' hospital visits. Thank you, Mr. Steve Foster. I don't know if he's here this morning, but he stayed on me until finally I agreed to do that. What a blessing to be able to be with World War II, Vietnam, Korea, and the list goes on. Gulf War, Bosnian War, Kosovo War, Afghanistan. This auditorium or gymnasium is filled with those veterans. I would like to, at this time, share some stories. And the stories are not just stories. Please understand what they are. They're about human beings, people that served, people that have lives. There are so many stories right here in this audience of all those different wars and conflicts that I just mentioned. And again, my challenge, walk up to them. If you have a grandfather, a dad, a cousin, and somebody that served, today, don't let another day go by without walking up and saying to them, thank you for serving. Whether it's at Myers, Kroger's, a restaurant, don't let that opportunity slip away. At this time, I would like to introduce and tell you about my first veteran, Norb, and his wife. Would you stand up, please? There are not a lot of World War II vets left, I'm telling you folks. Please give them a round of applause. I'm telling you, there's only a few left in Claremont County, if that. You couldn't tell it, but Norb is a young 97 years old. A little bit about Norb. He was drafted in 1946. And he went to MEPS in Columbus, Ohio, just like I did, just like so many other people sitting there. Things don't change. After going to Columbus to his MEPS, His MOS was a medical surgical technician. Norb worked with amputees. He shipped off at 18 years old, went to a foreign country to, again, protect our freedoms. Norb left San Francisco and went off to Japan. Another veteran that I have had the pleasure of meeting, and again, as I say and tell you about these veterans, I want you to grasp, these are people that you will see, and again, challenge you to say those kind words. Thank you for serving. Woody, he was a helicopter pilot in Vietnam. Imagine flying a helicopter and having people on the ground, Vietnamese, firing machine guns and who knows what at your helicopter. And your mission, his mission, was to go in and get our soldiers back out. Woody was shot down. He received the Silver Star and a Purple Heart. What an incredible person that I've had the honor of meeting since working at the VA. Leonard lives over in Milford. He's a Vietnam vet. A lot of times these veterans, when you first meet them, and again, some of these sitting in front of us, they don't want to talk about their times in war. They don't want to share those stories. They need somebody to listen. They need somebody to care that they served and who they are as an individual and a person. And that's why it's so, so important that we reach out to them and we say kind words to them. Leonard told me after probably the third or fourth time I was with him, he was in Vietnam, front lines, hadn't slept in 3 or 4 days, had some replacements come in. So he told the replacements, hey, I've got to sleep. I haven't slept in days. Make sure you wake me up before it gets dark. Because at dark, the Vietnamese that were only a few hundred yards away that you could hear will come in, and their thought is to kill us. So Leonard fell asleep. When he woke up, it was dark outside. He panicked. Where are the replacements? They were supposed to wake me up. He did what he was supposed to do. He crawled on his hands and knees out to check the trip lines to make sure that they were still set. Otherwise, the Vietnamese were coming in. As he was crawling out, he had heard a sound that he heard many times before, incoming mortars. Before he could react, the mortar hit right beside him, blew him off the ground. Not only did it hit, it set off a mortar. Leonard woke up 5 or 6 months later in a hospital, had no idea where the 5 or 6 months had gone, no idea who found him, how they found him, how they got him out of there. Leonard, again, is one of those veterans that I smile and I say to him, thank you for serving. Jack lives over in Hamersville. Jack told me a story. They used to fly back to Woody. They'd fly in helicopters in to the vegetation, and they would lower them down rappel lines through the canopy of the forest. Here's the issue, and again, I'm guilty. I'm telling you that Agent Orange was just something that I'd heard about. Agent Orange was something that it really didn't have the meaning that it does to the Vietnam vets, that it should to all of us, because it's real. Jack would go down through the canopy, out of the helicopter, through the Agent Orange getting soaking wet. And our government, it's just a mild pesticide. Don't worry about it. When he got to the ground, guess what? There were no hot showers. There was no way to get this off of you. You simply wore it. And the Vietnam guys out here know what I'm talking about. His body is shot. I have the honor and the privilege and the blessing of driving him to his hospital visits. I do. It gives me cold chills. I want to cry. These guys are real. This was the real deal. These are our veterans. That's why we're here today. Thank you, Norb, for serving. He went to Japan. It's simple words that I challenge you today to say, thank you for serving. It means so much. People say it to me, and I'm thinking, I didn't really go anywhere. I was in the Marines, but I was stateside. The kind words still ring home. I challenge you, say that. Go home today and say it to your grandfather, your grandmother, if they served. So many stories. They're sitting here today. Ask them, listen to them, tell them you care about them. Let them know you support them. That's what this day is about. Sure, we have a Memorial Day in May. That honors our fallen veterans. Veterans Day is about honoring these guys today. Take that time. I truly believe God has put us all here for a purpose. I also believe the good Lord has blessed me to do what I do today. He has blessed me my entire life to work for such an incredible guy as Jason Tackett. You guys are blessed to have him. Mr. Kevin Dunn, another incredible man. Embrace the moment. Embrace the moment. Let Veterans Day be more than a book, more than a movie. Let it be what it's meant to be. Say thank you to Norb. Say thank you to each person that's sitting out here that served our country, man and woman. The blessing again. So many high school kids from Williamsburg that I had the opportunity to help direct to join the armed forces, that I look forward to today telling them thank you for serving. I'd like to mention Mr. Isaac Meese, my nephew. He's in the Air Force, Special Forces. He's a bad dude. Pararescue. He is a senior master sergeant. Came right through Williamsburg. And again, I look forward to telling him, thank you for serving. My brother Ron is sitting in the audience today. He has stories about the Marine Corps. Thank you for serving, Ron. I appreciate it. I do. Let it be more than stories. Let them know that we care about them. Did I get off track? At this point, again, I challenge, lastly, for probably the 50th time, you young people today to go out and say thank you for serving to our veterans. Mr. Tackett, I have no idea who to turn it over to, but I'm finished.
I would now like to introduce Cora Beckwith, Middle School Student Council Treasurer.
The Space Force is our newest division of the military. Established in 2019, the Space Force became the first new branch of the armed forces in the past 73 years. For the last 60 years, space capabilities have become essential to the way a modern military conducts operations. Investments in space capabilities have increased the effectiveness of operation in every other domain. The U.S. military is faster, better connected, more informed, precise because of space. Today, the Guardians of the United States Space Force have been called to protect and defend American interests and to ensure our force, our allies, and the world never experiences a day without space. They serve across the globe, working 24/7 to design, acquire, field, test, operate, and defend the critical space systems of the nation and the world rely upon. Would all members of the Space Force please stand to be recognized? I'd like to introduce Grace Early, Senior Class President.
From the first battles at Lexington and Concord, to the Civil War, to the liberation of Nazi-controlled Europe, American soldiers are celebrated for their vigor and bravery in combat. On June 14, 1775, the Second Continental Congress formed the Continental Army as a means for the 13 unified American colonies to fight the forces of Britain. George Washington was unanimously elected Commander-in-Chief of the fledgling army, and he would lead the colonies to victory and independence. Today, the Army is made up of more than 750,000 soldiers, including active duty and Army Reserve personnel. Army soldiers fill many roles. They are doctors, lawyers, and engineers. They are electricians, computer programmers, and helicopter pilots. They are police officers, logistics experts, and civil affairs representatives. The Army's constant need for a diverse range of individual soldiers, each with his or her own expertise, is what sets it apart from other military branches. Would all members of the Army Reserves, and Ohio National Guard please stand to be recognized? I'd now like to introduce Freshman Class President Mia Dillinger.
Since its birth on October 13, 1775, the Navy has been involved with more than 10 major wars and countless battles in the effort to bring security, democracy, peace, and prosperity to the American people. It stood as a constant deterrent against international aggression, fought the good fights when necessary, acted as a willing source of assistance to those in crisis or need around the globe, and moved humanity forward through everything from action to innovation. Today, the Navy is made up of over 341,000 active sailors and over 100,000 in the Navy Reserves. Would all members of the Navy and Navy Reserves please stand to be recognized? I'd now like to introduce Brian Chambers, sophomore class president.
The United States Marine Corps was founded in 1775, even before our nation was officially formed. This elite group of men and women lived by a strict code of integrity and ethics, producing not just strong warriors, but people of exceptional character. The core values of honor, courage, and commitment inform everything a Marine does, on and off the battlefield. The Marine Corps plays a major role as the first force on the ground in most conflicts. Today, approximately 180,000 Marines are stationed around the world at all times, ready to deploy quickly, whenever and wherever needed. The commitment ranges from 4 to 5 years of service, but as the saying goes, there are no ex-Marines, only former Marines, simply in different uniforms and in different phases of life. Would all members of the Marines please stand to be recognized? I'd now like to introduce Elena Nagel, Middle School Student Council President.
The Coast Guard is one of our nation's 5 military services. Founded in 1790, they exist to defend and preserve the United States. They protect the personal safety and security of our people, the marine transportation system and infrastructure, our natural and economic resources, and the territorial integrity of our nation, both from internal and external threats, natural and man-made. They protect these interests in U.S. ports and inland waterways, along the coast, and on international waters. The Coast Guard is a military, multi-mission, maritime force offering a unique blend of military, law enforcement, humanitarian, regulatory, and diplomatic capabilities. These capabilities underpin our 3 broad roles: maritime safety, maritime security, and maritime stewardship. There are currently over 80,000 members of the Coast Guard. Would all members of the Coast Guard please stand to be recognized? I'd now like to introduce Brantley Wilson, Middle School Student Council Marketing Manager.
The Air Force began as a subdivision of the U.S. Army. It was declared an official combatant arm in 1920. It wasn't until 1947, following World War II, that the Air Force was recognized as its own military branch. The Air Force provides advanced, hands-on training for hundreds of careers. Pilots and flight crew are just the tip of the iceberg. The Air Force relies on mechanics, electronic technicians, air traffic controllers, medical staff, and other personnel to fulfill its objectives. Today's Air Force operates in keeping with a 3-part vision: global vigilance, reach, power. This vision empowers a technologically advanced force of more than 300,000 troops focused on air, space, and cyberspace superiority. Today, the Air Force has over 500,000 members in active duty, civilian employees, Air Force Reserve personnel, and Air Force National Guard personnel. Would all members of the Air Force please stand and be recognized? would now like to introduce Mr. Kevin Dunn, Williamsburg Elementary School Principal.
There are days and times in our lives where saying thank you just doesn't seem to be enough, and I think today is undoubtedly one of those days. For you as veterans in attendance, our district from preschool through graduation seeks to teach our students the Wildcat way. We want our students to be respectful, responsible, safe, and resilient, and I can think of no better group of people that we can point to help us teach those character traits. And we really appreciate you choosing to be with us today, because this assembly, the discussions that come from it, are just a tremendous springboard for learning for our students beginning in elementary school, where we're learning about the concept of service and contributing to our communities in a positive way, to much more detailed and depthful learning in high school. It just really gives our students an opportunity to benefit from your service yet another time. So students, join me one more time in giving our guests today a round of applause. Once again, on behalf of our district, thank you for your service. Thank you for choosing to be here with us today, and have a blessed day. Thank you.
Veterans, again, thank you for coming out. We're going to try to get our students back to class. You guys may want to stay put so you don't get ran over, celebrate, take some pictures, talk to one another. Students, please exit in an orderly fashion. Thank you again. Thanks for coming.